Facebook or Google, for whatever reason, got out of bed in the morning and they actually wanted to protect the security of your communications in a way that even they can't break. Like right now, Google and Facebook, they do a great job keeping other people from spying on your communications. But if Google wants to rifle through your inbox, right? If Facebook wants to go through all your direct messages and give that to the federal government, like you tap one button and boom, they've got all of it. It happens every single day. And this is actually a bigger thing in the COVID crisis. There's this idea called end-to-end encryption, which what it means is that when you send a message, when Billy sends a message to Bobby, Billy and Bobby both have the keys to unlock that message. And it could be sent through Facebook, it could be sent through Google, but without that key, Google, Facebook, they don't have that key. Only the phones at the end, the laptops at the end, the people who own those, they're the only people who have the key. So if somebody comes to Facebook and says, we want to see that information, Facebook hands over the encrypted message, right? And Facebook goes, well, here you go, here's our copy, but we can't read it. You can't either. Now you've got to actually do some work on the government side and go get that key yourself. And then you can read it, right? But we can't read it. So let me go into some of that in a little depth. The number one target is the iPhone. If you have an iPhone, you get these little software update notifications all the time that are like, hey, please update to the most recent version of iOS. And that's a fabulous thing. That's a wonderful thing for security because the number one way that people's devices get screwed, if it's not just through user error, right? Like you entering your password somewhere you shouldn't. It's like a fake site. It looks like Gmail, but it's not actually Gmail. You just gave the guy your password. Now he uses your password to log in. But to actually break into a device is that it's not patched, right? Patch means getting these security updates, these little code updates that fix holes that researchers found in the security device. Well, Apple's really good about rolling these out all the time for everybody in the world.
Looking for something on Google? You can search the web with real and organic search results and do it without anyone tracking your activity or data. We ourselves use Atlas VPN to protect our data online. Atlas VPN is more than just any other VPN. It blocks all malicious links, ads, and trackers, and notifies you when someone is trying to spy on or steal your data. If you want to grab Atlas VPN, they have a great deal going on right now for just $1.70 a month and 6 months extra for free. We've provided a link in the description you can use to grab this deal. Try it out with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Not only does it protect your data, it also keeps your searches completely private. Also, protect unlimited devices at once. No limits are set. One subscription only for the best price. That's why we use Atlas. Oh, did we forget to mention it saves you a lot of money booking online? It's that easy. Grab Atlas VPN using the link in the description and secure your data today.
Problem is, basically all these different iPhones, right? You got an iPhone 6, you got an iPhone 8, you got an iPhone X, you got an iPhone, 3, whatever. These are all running a pretty narrow band of software versions. And so these guys go, if they want to target, for example, Android phones, like Google phones, like a Samsung Galaxy or something like that. There's like 1 billion different phones made by 1 billion different people. Half of them are completely out of date. But what it means is it's not one version of software they're running, it's like 10,000. And this is actually bad for security on the individual level, but it's good for security in a very unusual way, which is the guys who are developing the exploits. The guys like this NSO group who are trying to find ways to break into phones. They realize if they find a way to attack an iPhone, which is actually, this is difficult, this is really difficult stuff. Now it works against basically every iPhone. And who has iPhones? All the rich people, right? All the important people, all the lawmakers, all the guys who are in there. So they've made a business on basically attacking the iPhone and selling it to every 2-bit thug who runs a police department in the world. They sell this stuff to Saudi Arabia, they sell this to Mexico. And there's a group of researchers in Canada working at a university called the Citizen Lab. And these guys are really like the best in the world at tracking what NSO Group is doing. If you want to learn about this stuff, the real stuff, look up Citizen Lab and the NSO Group. And what they have found is all the people who are being targeted by the NSO Group, the classes of people, the countries that are using this. And these like petrostates, these bad actors nationally, will pay literally tens of millions of dollars each year just to have the ability to break into an iPhone for a certain number of times, because that's how these guys do it. They sell their business plan. They go, we'll let you break into any iPhone just by basically sending a text message to this phone. All you need to find is the phone number of a person who's running an iPhone, and we will exploit something. Like the easiest forms of exploit, or rather the easier types of exploits, are where they send you a text message, right? And it'll be like an iMessage or something like that. And it's got a link in it that'll be like, oh gosh, terrible news, you know, your buddy's father just died, and we're making funeral arrangements. Are you gonna be there? It's the day after tomorrow. And when you click the link for the funeral arrangements, it opens your web browser. And the web browser on your phone is always the biggest, most complicated process in it, right? There's a zillion lines of code in this, as opposed to an instant messenger where there's fewer lines of code in it. And this is the problem, is on the phone. You can replace the phone, right? And they'll lose access to that. But if they've already used that to gain the passwords that you use to access, you know, your iCloud or whatever, when they have control of the phone, they've already got your photo roll, right? They've already got your contact list. They already have everything that you've ever put in that phone. They already have all your notes. They already have all your files. They already have everything that's in your message history, right? They can pull that out immediately. And now, because they have, you know, all your contacts and things like that, they see that phone stop being active. They know you've changed your phone number. All they have to do is find the new phone number, and then they can try to go after you again. The benefit is, with that old style of attack, if you get that message and you don't click that link, you're somebody in a vulnerable class, right? You've had these kind of attacks against you before. It looks suspicious. You don't know who this person is. The number isn't right, something like that. And you save that link. You don't click the link. You don't do anything with that link, but you send it to a group like Citizen Lab. They can basically use that link to basically use like a dummy phone, like sort of a Trojan horse, to go to the site that would attack your phone and catch it. And this is what the sort of process that all of their research is based on. You got a smartphone, right? You might be listening to this. You got a phone somewhere in the room. The phone is turned off, or at least the screen is turned off. It's sitting there. And if somebody sends you a message, the screen blinks to life. How does that happen? How is it that if someone from any corner of the earth dials a number, your phone rings and nobody else's rings? Every smartphone is constantly connected to the nearest cellular tower. Every phone, even when the screen is off, you think it's doing nothing. You can't see it because radio frequency emissions are invisible. And so your phone is sitting there doing nothing, you think, but it's constantly shouting and saying, I'm here. Who is closest to me? That's a cell phone tower. And every cell phone tower with its big ears is listening, and it compares notes with the other network towers, and your smartphone compares notes with them to go, who do I hear the loudest? And who you hear the loudest is a proxy for closeness, distance. They go, whoever I hear more loudly than anybody else, that's close to me. So you're going to be bound to this cell phone tower, and that cell phone tower is going to make a note, a permanent record, saying this phone handset with this phone number at this time was connected to me. And based on your phone handset and your phone number, they can get your identity. But what this means is that whenever you're carrying a phone, whenever the phone is turned on, there's a record of your presence at that place that is being made and created by companies. Now, these things are stored. Now, these things are saved. It doesn't matter whether you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't matter whether you're the most ordinary person on Earth, because that's how bulk collection, which is the government's euphemism for mass surveillance, works. They simply collect it all in advance in hopes that one day it will become useful. The thing with shutting your phone off that is a risk is, how do you know your phone's actually turned off? When I was in Geneva, working for the CIA, we would all carry like drug dealer phones. The old smartphones, old dumb phones, they're not smartphones. And the reason why was just because they had removable backs where you could take the battery out. And the one beautiful thing about technology is if there's no electricity in it, there's no battery connected to it, it's not sending anything, because you have to get power from somewhere. You have to have power in order to do work. But now your phones are all sealed, right? You can't take the batteries out. So there are potential ways that you can hack a phone where it appears to be off, but it's not actually off. It's just pretending to be off, whereas in fact it's still listening in and doing all this stuff. I wrote a paper on this specific problem. How do you know when a phone is actually off? How do you know when it's actually not spying on you? With a brilliant, brilliant guy named Andrew Bunny Huang, called the introspection engine. But for average people, right, this is academic. That's not your primary threat. Your primary threats are these bulk collection programs. Your primary threat is the fact that your phone is constantly squawking to these cell phone towers. It's doing all of these things because we leave our phones in a state that is constantly on. You're constantly connected. But the whole idea is we need to identify the problem. And the central problem with smartphone use today is you have no idea what the hell it's doing at any given time. Like, the phone has the screen off. You don't know what it's connected to. You don't know how frequently it's doing it. And you don't even know it's happening because you can't see it, right? And this is the problem with the data collection used today, is there is an industry that is built on keeping this invisible. They can see everything about you. They can see everything about what your device is doing, and they can do whatever they want with your device. What changed with technology is that surveillance could now become indiscriminate. It could become dragnet. It could become bulk collection. The government did it. They used classification. Companies did it. They intentionally didn't talk about it. They denied these things were going. They said, you agreed to this. You clicked a button that said, I agree, because you were trying to open an account so you could talk to your friends. You were trying to get driving directions. You were trying to get an email account. You weren't trying to agree to some 600-page legal form that even if you read, you wouldn't understand. And it doesn't matter even if you did understand, because one of the very first paragraphs in it said, this agreement can be changed at any time unilaterally without your consent by the company. And so long as they do that, companies are going to be extraordinarily powerful. And they're going to be extraordinarily abusive. And this is something that people don't get. They go, oh, well, it's data collection, right? They're exploiting data. This is data about human lives. It is data about people. These records are about you. It's not data that's being exploited. It's people that are being exploited. It's not data that's being manipulated. It's you that's being manipulated. And this is something that I think a lot of people are beginning to understand. The problem is the companies and the governments are still pretending they don't understand or disagreeing with this. And this reminds me of something that one of my old friends, John Perry Barlow, used to say to me, which is, you can't awaken someone who's pretending to be asleep.